And I'm Patrick Willis. We built Nebula, a curated streaming platform where creators like.
I've had the money.
I won't let you down, sir. Better not, or I'll throw you off the roof.
I don't like Squid Games. I don't want to see Squid Games never ever again. Eight days ago.
How much is this? Oh, hey, today that's 15% off. Oh, okay. What about this? So, same thing, 15% off. Really? Okay. What about this one? These are 15% off. Okay, what about this? 15% off. What about this? 15%. What about this? 15% off. What about these? Listen, everything in the store, even these wristbands, and this hat, everything is 15% off. Everything. Everything. Sweet, butterly milk.
I don't have a show. I don't do merch.
Our entire store is 15% off for the next 48 hours. It's Black Friday, and everything's gonna get sold out. I gotta give you some merch. Today, my dream comes true, and we're spending the night in a gaming shop. Yo, look at this thing, dude. That almost broke the counter. Here, tug of war. Ready? Yeah, come on. Oh, no, let's have fun and eat some candy.
Yeah, I know.
Guys. Subscribe.
Because I don't know what to do. I'll do like 1,000 subscribers. I'll make merch. I'll change the name of the channel too. Guys, we got 1,000 subscribers. I'll start making merch, and the chain will get changed too. So, yeah, guys, 1,000 subscribers equal a merch. I'll start making merch then, or not merch. You guys want me to do merch? Someone asked how to do merch. The answer is no. I can't do merch. Why? Because my name. And just wait for us, guys, to get a few more subscribers. Wait until we get 1,000 subscribers, guys, and maybe I'll start merch. Who knows?
Yo, Wizard Harry. Yo, Wizard.
Wow, what the hell are you guys doing? I'll watch this real quick.
Leave a like on this video and subscribe, or this spider will be crawling around in your bed while you're trying to sleep.
The cats will eat it.
Yo, what is up, guys? It is your boy AC here, back for a brand new video. Today, we will be having a look at some of your favorite YouTubers like Unspeakable and Mr. Beast and so much more barely escaping alive, guys. This video is absolutely crazy because some of the YouTubers in this video nearly died, so watch until the end. So coming straight in, at the number 6 spot, we have a time when a YouTuber named Ben Brown from the UK was driving his car and then another car came flying straight into the side of his car and they crashed, guys. This clip was literally insane because they nearly died, so check it out.
Look at that. Oh, I think, well, you guys are right. Is everyone okay? You guys are right. Is everyone okay?
So if you guys thought that clip was absolutely insane, the next one is going to be even better because in this clip, Rotoshaw and his friends were playing football, aka soccer, blindfolded when one of them ended up running into a fence, guys, and he ended up getting a huge cut on his face, guys, and honestly, it looked so bad.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick.
Don't do that. Today, boys, we are on a mission. The mission does not include this tank. No. We can't take the tank with us. I'm sorry, boys. Today, we're doing an overnight challenge in a warehouse. Wow! We're gonna
gonna try to sneak into a warehouse and survive overnight until the morning with no one seeing us.
What warehouse you may ask?
Yeah, look at the shirts you're wearing. We
Ah,
go to the merch warehouse where all the merchandise is made, fulfilled, packaged, and shipped, and we're gonna try to survive there overnight in this big
Is that your warehouse?
Now the thing is everyone that works there obviously knows me and knows us, but we're gonna try to sneak in without knowing at all. We have no idea we're doing this, so we need to hit the road because they close in about an hour and a half. So we need to get there before they close, sneak in, pick our hiding spots.
How are we gonna sleep?
We gotta get supplies together.
Sleeping bags, candles, Minecraft torches, and all.
Why don't you guys go to Preston's warehouse? That's where I'd go. I'd go to Preston's warehouse. H. There we go. Technically, I can't get in trouble watching my own content, can I?
What it gets. This almost the trash. Yeah, but it's the trash.
What? What's wrong, baby?
To trace the beginnings of this epic development machine, you really need to go all the way back to 1983. when a small group of friends would frequently meet up at the Kingsway Amateur Computer Club each Thursday evening in Dundee's Kingsway Technical College. Dave Jones, who was the oldest of the bunch, would often pick up and drive the Russell K round, and together they would dabble on machines like the Spectrum and Commodore 64. Steve Hammond would join the club shortly after, followed by Mike Daly in 1984. Between the club and the local arcade halls, the young team were inspired by the games they saw and subsequently made, with Mike Daly writing a breakout clone under the moniker of Freak Out for the Commodore Plus 4, which was almost released in 1987, but due to the changes that Cascade Games demanded, wasn't. Steve Hammond was involved and served on graphics duty for this escapade. Now, Dave Jones with Russell K, meanwhile, began writing a Spectrum budget game called Moonshadow, renamed The Zone Trooper, which was eventually published by Gamebusters in 1989. The team also collaborated on other gaming ideas, with Dave working on titles such as The Game with No Name, which evolved into a Nemesis-style shooter, and Mike and Russell coding up Splatterlight, intended to be a cross between Gauntlet and the Spectrum game Splat. But the only game which really became commercially available was Zone Trooper, which was also ported to the Amstrad CPC by the team. Now, even though Zone Trooper wasn't developed onto the DMA design badge, it's during this development where things got interesting. Dave Jones obtained his first Amiga 1000 using redundancy money from his electronics job at Timex. The Timex Dundee factory also being the place where Clive's ZX Spectrum was manufactured. And in between wowing the other friends with its technical ability, began work on a title called CopperCon 1, named after an Amiga hardware register and inspired by his love of Konami's shoot-'em-up Salamander, with some of the final game sound effects directly recorded from the Salamander arcade cabinet in Dundee's Reform Street arcade. He began seeking a publisher for the title, approaching Hewson Consultants in the first instance. Andrew Braybrook and Hewson were keen to release the game as the Amiga version of Synapse, but Jones realized sales would be limited and refused to sign the contract, although not before Hewson had taken the liberty of getting it on the front cover of Personal Computer Weekly. Soon after, Dave ended up on Psygnosis' Liverpool-based doorstep, and a deal was quickly struck, leading to an Amiga Group connection known as Tony Smith being roped in to complete graphics on the title, after Dave was blown away by his work with the Kent team, who were a Southern-based Amiga group. Dave then gathered the remainder of their quickly amassing group of buddies together to decide on a name, realizing that a company could be built from their combined skillful band of merry men. Dave Jones's preferred name was Acme Software, but it was taken, and so the group eventually settled on DMA Design, standing for Direct Memory Access, taken from nearby Amiga programming manuals, even though journalists were often told that the name stood for doesn't mean anything. And so it was. In amongst the other individual projects, DMA Design was founded in late 1987.
What you guys?
DMA founded, CopperCon 1 was renamed Draconia, but due to another game coincidentally launching weeks beforehand with the same name, it was changed again to Menace. But some magazine reviews published too early to change, still naming the game as Draconia in print. These names followed Jones's requirements that every game should consist of a word used in general conversation or be part of a well-known phrase, i.e., menace to society. It was DMA's first game and was published in 1988 for the Amiga, with music provided by David Whittaker, who had been around in the Commodore 64 scene for a while with compositions for games such as Glider Rider. Conversions of Menace followed from the Atari ST, coded by Brian Watson, a university friend of Jones, as well as Commodore 64 and DOS in 1989. One particular challenge for the Atari ST version was replicating the smooth scrolling, a hardware feature that the ST lacked. Watson's solution was to create
What's your problem, Whistle?
at a time, each one 2 pixels further on than the last. This was quite memory intensive.
What's your problem, Whistle?
Tony Smith was kept on working down south, and he became responsible for creating DMA's first logo, with frequent meetups between himself and Jones at Psygnosis' Midway office. The logo would subsequently change with almost every game created up until 1996. The money quickly started coming in, and with it, Dave Jones began his passion for cars, beginning with the purchase of a 16-valve Vauxhall Astra. This
Wow,
sparked him to
Vauxhall.
quit his in-progress HND in computing at Dundee's Abertay University to concentrate full-time on game development. Although, as far as his lecturers were concerned, only system engineers made money. Oh, how wrong they were. Which was subsequently acknowledged when they provided Mr. Jones with an honorary degree and made him a fellow of the university, whilst also launching the very first computer game development course in the country. Happy with the work from DMA, Psygnosis sent Dave a new toy in the form of a spanking new 386 PX 25 MHz, complete with a personal development system. This allowed him to compile code and transfer it over a parallel cable to the Amiga in the blink of an eye. This was a whole new realm compared to coding straight onto his Amiga 1000. It was around this time that Mike Daly was asked to leave college due to low attendance, and quickly started helping Dave work on the new project, which would become Blood Money, which owes some inspiration to IBM's arcade shooter, Mr. Heli. At the same time, Psygnosis had given the nod to Menace to be ported over to the PC, which Russell K had jumped on with great gusto. At this point, the team was still working from their individual bedrooms, or crowding around each other's to work on jobs concurrently. However, it was also the point which some members, such as Mike, were brought on as salaried members, rather than earning money on a project basis. To aid in the development of his C64 titles, he was also given a Dolphin DOS system, but he didn't cut the mustard as much as the guys had hoped, taking 20 minutes to build new iterations of code. Essentially, this meant that if there was one tiny error, you'd have to fix it and then wait another 20 minutes, and so on. And this was the process used for Mike's first conversion jobs handed over by Psygnosis in the form of ballistics for the Commodore 64. It was in this game that Mike learned to trick Commodore's 8-bit hardware into displaying 32 on-screen sprites rather than the default of 8. A pretty mighty achievement, especially for your first conversion job. Impressed, Dave handed Mike a brand new 286 12 MHz PC, which improved things considerably. With Russell's Menace
Shut up, is that what you want?
PC, it was passed to Psygnosis for testing, who apparently missed the bug of only the first bullet causing damage to enemies. Subsequent bullets would pass straight through. If you play the game, it's still there to this very day. Anyway, it was during this work that Russell wrote a tool called ILBM2Raw. This handy tool essentially took the deluxe paint images and cut graphics out for programmers to use. This was one of the first tools that would speed things up considerably for the team, as they became more streamlined at tasks in hand. Russell then moved on to the PC port of ballistics. While the guys were hard at work, Dave had taken up the task of sorting a workspace out for the team. His father-in-law owned a chip shop called the Deep Sea, with an accompanying office space across the road. This quickly became DMA Design's base, which the members began the routine of commuting to on a regular basis. Another friend of Dave's, Gary Timmons, was next on the sign-up list. After coming into the office to look around, Gary was taken by the animations in Blood Money and began to sit in the corner and, using dots, replicate the walker animation Tony from the Kent team had been working on. It was an Ed 209.
What do you want, Whistle?
From Blood Money. The team started to believe they could write an entire game around. Dave saw Gary's potential and quickly set him up in the back room with deluxe paint. It was late 1989, and the team consisting of Dave Jones, Russell K, Mike Daly, Steve Hammond, Brian Watson, and Gary Timmons was now 6 strong. Some salaried, others not, with some other people still brought in externally to assist. Most of the guys were still under the age of 20 at this point, with Dave Jones himself still only 23 years young. Blood Money was finished up and released in late 1989 under Psygnosis and converted to the usual other platforms, including DOS, Atari ST, and C64 later in 1990. It was another good shooter from the team who had growing reputations and scored well in magazine reviews at the time. Demand was growing and more people were still needed. Scott Johnson was brought in on freelance to do graphics for the next game, Walker, which, yes, was inspired by the earlier Blood Money animation. Dave immediately began the process of coding it up. It was also around this time that the team had the famous discussion that would lead to Lemmings. Mike, who had just received his first monthly paycheck of £272, had seen tiny 5-pixel high sprites in the game Oids, an ST shooter where your ship rescues android slaves. He thought that somewhere between this and a 16x16 sprite would be a perfect sweet spot. A sprite that could be replicated lots of times and retain its own character, but make the Walker look big by comparison. These guys would make perfect cannon fodder for the Walker. He created a demo one lunchtime of men being crushed by weights and shot by guns, with Gary Timmons adding a few more traps, including a chomping mouth. Gary also loosened up the feel of the characters by adding floppy hair. Russell K saw the demo and immediately voiced, "There's a game in that," later coining the little sprites Lemmings. A demo of the little guys moving was then assembled, and during the late 1989 Personal Computer World show was shown to Psygnosis. By this stage, the Lemmings formula had not even been conceived, and these were just little guys walking across the landscape. The colouring was altered to suit the PC EGA palette, and green hair was decided as appearing nicer than blue. For the time being, the demo was then left on the shelf. Meanwhile, 1990 rolled around. A few things happened by now. Mike started on the C64 version of Blood Money, and Dave Jones was progressing with the new Walker game. Gary had produced a Disney-style